Good afternoon and thank you for coming. Before we will begin, I ask you to turn off your mobile phones. In honor of our English-speaking guests, we will conduct this event in English. We would like to welcome all of you. Thank you again for coming. Distinguished guests, Professor Tzvi Galil, the President of Tel Aviv University, Ms. Dalia Rabin, Chair of Yitzhak Rabin Center, Professor Chanuch Dagan, the Dean of the Law Faculty, Professor Rafi Nachmias from the School of Education, Mr. Dov Lautman, the founder of Tel Aviv Youth University, Mr. Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Britain and Dan David Laureate 2009, Mrs. Gabi David, members of the Board of Trustees, Professor Adina Tirosh, Chairman of the Academic Committee, the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth, Mrs. Shira Shofti, the Head of the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth, school principals, teachers, students, distinguished guests. We have gathered here in order to celebrate and conclude the 2009 leadership activities hosted by the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth in Tel Aviv University. The purpose of the unit is to encourage excellence by expanding the pupils' horizons through exposure to academic knowledge and practice. We claim that excellence itself is not an accomplishment. It is a spirit, a never-ending process. We believe that such a perception concerning excellence suits perfectly also to leadership, which is a never-ending inspiration and a specific orientation to the world. Being a leader isn't easy. It is not something we can just accomplish and then move on. Being a leader requires hard work, sacrifice, commitment, and a willingness to grow. We believe that a good leader is someone who makes personal development as a priority. Today's event consists of two parts. The first, which will take place in a few seconds, is the formal concluding of the leadership activities. The second one is a roundtable discussion concerning an issue that should interest all of us. Can leadership skills be acquired? The former Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Tony Blair, will be our guest of honor and will attend the discussion, as well as 4 youngsters, members of the leadership groups. For the past 3 years, the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth initiates a few leadership programs. These programs seek to motivate and train excellent Israeli youth towards leadership. The method we use is a combination between theory and practice. The students participating in these programs enjoy an integration between academic knowledge and simulations related to the Israeli context. The audience who sit here today is composed of 3 leadership groups. The first group is from the school called Hakfar HaYarok, Experimental Village for Environmental Leadership. The second group is from Ort Binyamina. Both of the schools work with the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth for several years. For the last 3 years, we worked together in order to establish a large group of leaders with full commitment and cooperation. As a part of their obligation for initiative and creativity, their pupils attend each year in the Name Your Hero competition. A few of tomorrow's winners sit with us today. Congratulations. The third group is the Interdisciplinary Leadership Program, which is a good example of an harmonic cooperation between the Yitzhak Rabin Center and the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth. Its 34 bright participants come from several Arab villages in the center and in the north of Israel. They participated last year in a unique program of the Yitzhak Rabin Center called University Within Reach. After graduated that program with honor, they continued to their second year here at Tel Aviv University. Today, we also celebrate their graduation. Their graduation ceremony will attend here after the roundtable discussion ends. The cooperation between the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth and the Yitzhak Rabin Center in the matter of leadership is obvious. The late Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin, was a noble leader, pragmatic, and yet creative and full of initiative. Dominant figure, and yet humble. His murder ended a national progression that could have changed the Israeli society and stopped a peace process that could have changed the Middle East. As a national institute, the Yitzhak Rabin Center is dedicated for commemorating Yitzhak Rabin's legacy, and therefore the center was a natural partner to this initiative of the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth. It is my honor to invite Ms. Dalia Rabin, the chair of Yitzhak Rabin Center.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie is actually personifying in her little figure actually whatever is being done between the Rabin Center and the Tel Aviv University. For many years she was in charge of University Within Reach, and now she's in charge from the Rabin Center side on the leadership program that we do share with the Tel Aviv University. To our guest of honor, which is unfortunately not yet arrived this evening, the Honorable Mr. Tony Blair, Professor Tzvi Galil, who will join us later, Hanoch Dagan, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, our dear partner, and Rafi Nachmias, dear Dovik, dear Gabi, distinguished members of the Board of Trustees, the principals and teachers of the participating high schools, and our dear students. Good afternoon. It is with great pleasure and pride that I stand before you on such an exciting evening. דחוף כרגע? רוני זה את. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate this exceptional body of students on an evening that serves as a starting point rather than a finish line for each of you. You, the students of the honors program, who excelled and graduated from the University Within Reach program, a project that has taken place for the last 7 years in close collaboration with the Yitzhak Rabin Center at the Faculty of Law at Tel Aviv University, have had the opportunity to participate in a special interdisciplinary leadership course with the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth at Tel Aviv University. During this past semester, you have learned about leadership, but we cannot talk about leadership in a void. A leader is required to know himself and his environment in order to succeed and push forward. For that reason, the program's curriculum combined multiple areas of knowledge with an emphasis on legal studies, especially to use law as a tool for change in society. The University Within Reach program carries on the educational and social legacy of Yitzhak Rabin. My father aspired to create a better future for the Israeli society, a future of peace, welfare, and prosperity. We cannot promise such a future without nurturing the young leadership of the coming generations, so that they will be able to take upon themselves responsibility and at the same time will preserve and strengthen our democratic foundation. The question posed before us today is whether leadership skills can be acquired. A good leader innately possesses the charisma and ability to motivate those around him, but must also be equipped with the capacity to recognize the wrongdoings and have the strong desire to bring about change in his surroundings. It is this that you will do with the tools you acquired during your studies. This interdisciplinary leadership program has given us the honor of guiding an exceptional, creative, and compassionate group of young minds in their path to create a more dignified and open society. In one of his most famous speeches as Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin said, "Do not say you could not prevent it. Do not say you are predestined. It is not so. Almost everything depends on you." This is true for you as well. We expect you to close the gaps and generate a more balanced dialogue between individuals and groups within Israeli society. In spite of all differences and challenges, the potential is incredible. You missed. The fundamental goal of these programs is to invest in you, our future generation. I consider the University Within Reach an honors program with its focus on leadership, projects of hope. This ceremony, as I said, serves as a starting point. You will reach a university. You will have the opportunity to deepen your understanding in the fields that interest you, and you will lead us forward. I would like to thank with all my heart our partners in this project, the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth at Tel Aviv University and its Executive Director, Shira Shofti, and to the Faculty of Law at Tel Aviv University and the Dean, Professor Hanoch Dagan, who has been and continues to be an integral part of the program and its inseparable place within the Faculty of Law. I would also like to thank, on behalf of all the guests this evening, the principals and teachers who voluntarily invested their time and energy in making this happen and making it such a success. Finally, thank you to our facilitators, Daphna and Jawad, for the indispensable and invaluable work and dedication. And to our dear students, congratulations on a job well done, and best of luck to each of you. Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, Dali Rabin. I would like to congratulate and introduce Mr. Tony Blair, 2009 laureate of the Dan David Prize. And Professor Tzvi Galil, the president of Tel Aviv University. As you probably know, Tel Aviv University is known for its outstanding students and academic staff. Our graduates integrate in the most influential institutes here in Israel and all over the world. There is no doubt that in an evening that concludes and celebrates the concept of leadership, we cannot ignore the amazing achievements of Tel Aviv University, which leads the scientific community and the Israeli society towards a better future. I would like to welcome Professor Tzvi Galil.
I want to welcome Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, to Israel and to Tel Aviv University. Today he is being awarded the Dan David Prize for leadership for quite a number of achievements in Northern Ireland, in Kosovo, and maybe he will do the same here in the Middle East. And we are welcoming him to this round table about leadership, about coexistence. And now I want to mention, of course, Dalia Rabin and Dov Lautman that have been working in exactly these subjects for many years. So hopefully we will get to this point that we will be able to settle with one another and to live here in peace. Thank you.
The Unit for Science-Oriented Youth marked on its flag the vision of locating the virtue of excellence within Israeli youth. In order to define excellent student and to insist on the principle of excellence, the most obvious home for us is the School of Education. Please welcome Professor Rafi Nachmias, the representative of the School of Education, Tel Aviv University.
Our distinguished guest, Mr. Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Mr. Blair, we are extremely honored that you are here with us, and we are so grateful for many things, but especially for your efforts toward peace in our region. So thank you. Mr. Professor Tzvi Galil, the President of Tel Aviv University, Dalia Rabin, the Chair of Yitzhak Rabin Center, Professor Hanoch Dagan, the Dean of the Faculty of Law, my dear colleagues from the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth, Mr. Dov Lautman, Gabi David, young scientists, young students from all around Israel, which will be the potential scientists and leaders of our country, distinguished guests. On behalf of the School of Education and the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth, I would like to welcome you all to our university for this roundtable. Leaders are courageous visionaries who inspire and motivate others to follow, and who ceaselessly drive to accomplish their missions. Leadership is sometimes to set the right priorities, as you, Mr. Blair, did when you set your 3 famous priorities in your new government in 1997, which are education, education, and education. Leadership is also to have the courage to make hard decisions, as demonstrated by the late Prime Minister Rabin in his speech at the signing ceremony of the peace treaty between Israel and Jordan on October 1994. He said, "There comes a time when there is a need to be strong and to make courageous decisions, to overcome the minefields, the drought and barrenness between our two peoples. Though I'm not sure that leadership skills can be acquired. It is clear to me that real leaders need also to be knowledgeable, to have the sense of justice, critical thinking, and the ability to cope with complex issues. To teach these values and knowledge is the prime objective of the unit of science-oriented youth, and thousands of excellent young students nationwide, you among them, participate annually in these educational programs led by the top scientists of Tel Aviv University. Dear students, we are proud of you, and I am sure that with enough determination, believe in your abilities, you will come back here to our university as full-time students to acquire what you need to become leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nachmias. It seems that we cannot discuss leadership without understanding the mechanisms of change and the varied methods of making one. Therefore, there is no doubt that alongside with the disciplines of humanities and social science, a leader must understand the meaning of law and its tremendous role in social life. Before we begin the roundtable discussion, I would like to invite Professor Hanoch Dagan, the Dean of the Law Faculty.
Thank you, Mr. Blair, our guest of honor, my colleagues, Professor Galil and others, Dalia Rabin, and all our good friends and partners from the Yitzhak Rabin Center. It is a great honor and a privilege to be here and to say a few remarks on the relationship between leadership and law, and maybe to explain to you why indeed Dalia was right on point when she said that this program, University Within Reach, is part and parcel of the Faculty of Law, part of the reason why we are proud of our Faculty of Law here at Tel Aviv University. Like Rafi, who talked about leadership before, I'm not sure that some of the skills that are needed to be a leader, but there are some people who know much better about that than me around here, can be acquired or learned. I'm not sure that you can learn to be courageous in your decision. I'm not sure that you can learn to be determined in pushing them forward. I'm not sure that you can learn to be able to mobilize people to go behind you. But you have to have a clear vision, and Rafi mentioned it as well. And in order to have a vision, you need to have the utmost skills about the relevant facts of your society and the possible tools that you can use in order to make it better. And here, I think, law comes into the picture. Law is currently, some people applaud it, some people think that it is a shame, but it is currently one of the central arenas in which crucial decisions regarding the allocation of both material resources and normative decisions are taking place. Legal interpretation, if you will, the most basic activities the most basic of all activities of jurists involves always some degree of discretion, and therefore always may be undermined by interest and power, but also may be used in the name of reason and justice. And it is in this name of reason and justice that we believe that better legal education and education for, call it, legal leadership can make a difference. A better command of the language of law requires not only a better command of the specific rules and precedent, it also requires a better command of all the relevant considerations that affect people's welfare, equality, liberty, or if you will, in one sentence, the dignity of all people and their freedom as the title of our own basic law. And it is in this spirit, I think, that we launch this joint project, and it is in this spirit that I hope that you will all indeed come back to the university and grow up to the stature of leadership that I'm sure you all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dagan. The discourse concerning leadership was always concerned with two main questions. First, the definition of leadership and the character of a good leader. Second, can leadership skills be acquired? The first question had been answered already. Leadership is the ability to build a better future by making a difference. The second question is yet a real mystery. In order to discuss this matter today, we are honored by Mr. Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Britain. Thank you again. I would like to welcome to this table 4 youngsters, amazing students from our leadership programs. I would like to call, please, again, it is now my pleasure to welcome 4 excellent students who will participate in the roundtable along with Mr. Tony Blair. First, I would like to call Ms. Rana Taha. Rana is 17 years old. She lives in Jaljulia and learns in the School of Education and Science there. She specialized in physics and computers and is a member in the interdisciplinary leadership program. Second, I would like to call Ms. Noam Shamil. Noam is 15 years old. She lives in Matan and learns in the school named Hakfar Yarok. She is interested in films and biology. Then I would like to call Mr. Muhammad Agbaria. Muhammad is 18 years old and lives in Jaffa. He learns at Ironi Yudbet School in Jaffa, and he specializes in environmental studies. Last but not least, I would like to welcome Ms. Noam Shai. Noam is 16 years old. She lives in Binyamina and learns in Ort Binyamina. There she specializes in Arabic and in theater. Each one of the participants here on the stage will represent his or her viewpoint concerning the topic, can leadership skills be acquired? We would like to begin by hearing the youngsters. This will allow you, Mr. Blair, to hear their opinions before giving your comments. This will also allow to present you with the opportunity to ask them questions concerning their viewpoints. Afterwards, if time permits, we will have the opportunity to hear some questions from the students in the audience. We would like to begin with the round table, and we would like to begin with the first leader, Ms. Rana Taha.
Good afternoon. Can leadership skills be acquired? Such an interesting question has demanded me to think deeply about how do I actually define leadership. It seems to me that leadership is the capability to influence and motivate others to dream big, and then bring them to put this theory into practice. It seems to me that such a sophisticated skill as leading requires the person to gain it gradually by time and experience. I have already indicated that leadership is a skill, and that's a point I would like to emphasize. One can say that he knows what he aspires to lead and why, but how to is the question. And that's exactly the leadership skill, knowing the exact moves to make. First of all, I think that knowledge and education are essential criteria that an influential leader needs. Since a leader owns this position of being a leader, only if whom he leads believe in him and believe in his capabilities. And relating to the fact that people tend instinctively to trust those who are experts in the field, that's why I think that a leader must be an expert himself. As well, knowledge is power, and when a leader truly knows what he's doing, he is more likely to make the right decisions and be able to predict any possible risks or drawbacks that might come out of these decisions, and he can avoid them. Secondly, I must relate to the social aspect and its substantial contribution to the personal growth. I believe that the wide exposure to the social life, for example, getting involved into different kinds of relationship, strengthens our social skills to communicate, and then we learn how to express ourselves, our ideas, and beliefs much better. Additionally, I find that the media supplies us with plenty of information about events that take place around the world. This information can help us conclude and learn, and this is how we can actually formulate our own perspectives and attitudes regarding the society needs. And from this point on, we can identify what are we eager to promote and change in this society. About me personally, Rana, the 17-year-old girl, I must admit that I find myself really lucky that I was inspired at early age by wonderful people whom I consider as my role models. One of these outstanding personalities is someone that had influenced me the most and motivated me to dream big. He's the technological education supervisor, Mr. Shafi Al-Jamal. He was also the director of the Mikhail project, which is a very well-known project that seeks for maximizing the potential capabilities to reach excellence. And the course had finished, and I've been set free to do my own steps now. And today, I wish Mr. Shafir could know that I have been doing my best to succeed. Since the university here has welcomed me to study law and then participate into the leadership program. That's why I actually got here today and had the opportunity to talk to you. And finally, I want to say that I think a good leader is the one who manages to convey lasting messages to the new generations. And since time is neutral and does not change things, I think that leaders must take an action and inspire others. So if your actions inspire others to do more and become more and learn more, you are a leader. So keep going. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Rana. Now we would like to hear you, Noam.
Hello. Well, in my opinion, leadership and learning are essential for each other. Of course, it helps if you are born with genetic features that are relevant for leadership, such as charisma, self-confidence, dominance, etc. There is no doubt that by learning from and by associating with the right instructors, we can develop our leadership skills and even acquire new ones. Who are those right instructors? Significant figures that helps us in the most important mission of all, getting to know ourselves and the world we live in. Therefore, I would like to refer to people that inspired and motivates us, and knowledge from all kinds as the right instructors. By associating with those good instructors, we can develop our speaking ability. We can learn how to make things happen, how to perform missions, and how to achieve goals we choose. Sometimes, best way, although the hardest one to learn leadership, is by difficulties and challenges we are facing. Those challenges can function as catalysts, which will pull out some leadership skills we didn't even know we had in order to make a change. In addition, by experience a variety of associations, and by being open to the social world, we can learn the meaning of responsibility, persistence, and their limits. Leadership and learning are essential for each other, since leadership is a quality that improves with time and experience. Even if we have the right tools and qualities, we study leadership all the time. We progress as human beings by facing challenges and difficulties. This is why life experience is essential for a leader. I would like to draw an example that will base my claim. Not long ago, my teacher told me about this woman called Nawal al-Saadawi. Nawal was born in 1931. Since then, she has done an enormous change in the position of women in Egypt. When she was 4 years old, Nawal went through a girl's circumcision. Later, she told how traumatic and painful this event was for her and how it affected her. From that event, Nawal understood that there are changes that need to be made. While growing up, she only understood more and more how unfair was the position of women in Egypt. She worked very hard as a doctor in a hospital, and yet had many chores at home. The division of labor between her and her husband was ridiculously unequal. Nawal understood that despite her qualities, her value was poor. Even though Nawal was born with the right qualities for a leader, such as charisma and self-confidence, she could hardly express them because of her status as a woman in Egypt. Her notion about the patriarchal world she lived in was unconventional at the time, and she understood clearly the cost in case she will decide to rebel, losing her job, threatened by the Orthodox, and seclusion from her culture. Despite the price she had to pay in exchange to rebel, she began to promote women's rights. What factor can explain her struggle? How can we explain her rebel in the name of a principle despite the patriarchal social context? Her answer is a good instructor, her father, her significant figure, who gave her precious tools, the ability to doubt, and the strength to question reality. Thanks to his encouragement, she was able to speak up, to motivate herself. Her voice was loud and clear enough to make a real change. There's a great passage in the Jewish Gemara that I think is appropriate. The world is yours. What you want to do with your world, do it. We can learn leadership. There is no doubt about it. But first, we have to identify the world surrounding us as ours. This is the most basic and fundamental condition for good leadership skills. We have to care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noam. And now, please listen, we would like to listen to Muhammad Agbaria.
Good afternoon. There is no doubt in my mind that a good leader who wants to lead people with honor and dignity should enjoy certain features. I believe that some features, like responsibility and rhetoric skills, are acquired, whereas other features, like charisma and dominance, are features that you are born with. In the end of the day, leaders, those who are born with some genetic features, but in order to be good leaders, they need to evolve through never-ending process of self-study and training. The combination of the inborn genetic features and the acquired ones make the perfect leader a man with honorable character who serves his community. I would like to emphasize one of the most important and most influential leaders ever found, who is, to my opinion, an ideal example of the combination between inborn and genetic features. I refer to the 16th President of the United States, the late Abraham Lincoln. As a leader, Lincoln successfully led his country through its greatest internal crisis, the American Civil War. In the end of the day, he managed to preserve the Union and end slavery. Lincoln enjoyed charismatic character which helped him in getting people to support him. The people considered him as a reliable leader who can lead others successfully. They saw him as a professional who knows how to function efficiently due to his ability to perform as a dominant figure. In addition, he was an honest and modest man who did not really care about conventions. We know that prefer to meet simple people than senators, although this kind of behavior considered unusual and unacceptable for a president. In order to create a generation of good and noble leaders who will enjoy this combination of inherited and acquired features, there are things to be done. First, we should improve the great potential of our children at very early age. We need to open our eyes and seek after those with a special potential. We know for sure that children are very creative. Sometimes they amaze us, their unique talents. We need to identify those with the potential in order to translate it into positive actions. Secondly, as a society, we have obligation to the next generation, especially in the global world that changes all the time. Today, we are witnessing leaders, especially political ones, who are elected only thanks to a good propaganda and excellent PR. These people are virtual leaders who most of the time depend on media and capital. This is no doubt there is no doubt in my mind that we need to wake up and do something. Otherwise, good leadership will extinct. Therefore, we need to establish an organization in order to nurture leadership and educate towards responsibility. I know for sure that this is not a dream. The knowledge today is more available due to modern technology, and therefore we can deliver information in seconds almost to everyone. The programs that we present today is a very good beginning. They saw me as a young boy with potential and gave me the tools to generate, initiate, and take actions. Although I am quite young, I know that training towards leadership is only a matter of priorities. I would like to thank the Yitzhak Rabin Center and the unit of the sense-oriented youth for their priorities. Someday, my friends here and I will pay you back big time.
Before we hear Mr. Tony Blair, we would like to hear Noam Shamir.
Good evening. Vincent Lombardi once said, "Leaders are made, they are not born. They are made by hard effort, which is the price which all of us must pay to achieve any goal that is worthwhile." If you will seek for the definition of leader at the dictionary, you will find that a leader is a manager, or a man in charge of something. By that definition, one can claim that every one of us is a leader, because primarily, every grown-up person is in charge of himself. To my opinion, leadership skills can be acquired. I thought it common to think that everyone is a leader, since everyone motivates and manages himself. For me, a true leader is a man that leads beyond him. A true leader has the ability to influence society, make a change, and rapture people surrounding him and manage them in order to maintain peace or to progress towards a better future. In order to accomplish that, a leader needs more skill than those he needs in order to govern himself. Leadership is a quality that's made of several skills. One of the most important qualities that a leader needs is charisma. Charisma in Greek means divine gift, or a gift from God. I thought a common meaning of charisma implies that charisma cannot be acquired. I would like to claim otherwise. You can acquire it by empowering it. As I said before, in each and every one of us, there is a leader. Therefore, in each and every one of us, there is a hidden charisma. What we can do to acquire it, so to speak, is to develop our hidden skills by empowering them. Empowering our leading skills. This is one dimension of the work we are doing at the leadership class. In order to clear and understandable, I would like to describe one scene that actually occurs once in 2 weeks. I refer to a leadership workshop, a process that's held by my school and includes all my classmates. A part of the workshop is dedicated to hear a feedback from the other pupils concerning the impression, concerning the way we acted in various situations in which we needed to lead. This feedback concludes the good virtues that a leader needs to preserve and those he needs to empower in order to implement its potential. Those feedbacks help us to develop our leadership skills. The self-confidence is getting stronger, strengthened, and the qualities we need to strengthen getting stronger and intensified. I think this is a great example to the amazing advantages of human dialogue. I thought we have learned about Socrates and Plato, who used dialogue in their everyday life in order to deliver the human strength from potential into action. Only while practicing the dialogue, I can notice its enormous qualities. As Noam stated before me, there is a lot to learn from a dialogue, from associations, and I would like to emphasize, there is a lot to learn from a dialogue, not only with people, but even with traditions. Exactly like we, as a class, were using an incredible method learned from the Greeks. I can see myself as an example to a person who empowered our leadership skills, who acquired leadership skills, thanks to my fellows at the leadership class. 3 years ago, when I had started to learn at Akfar Arok, I barely spoke. My self-confidence wasn't strong, and let's don't mention charisma. After 3 years of studies at the leadership class, look at me, speaking in front of you today. This rare and exciting position with self-confidence as a young leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noam. Mr. Blair, we're curious to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Well, I don't know what to say now. I mean, all I can say is could never, at your age, 18 down to 15, is it, made a presentation like these four. So I don't know what I'm really doing here, actually. Your future's in pretty good hands, if these are the hands it's in. Look, I've just got a few thoughts. I mean, the first thing is that actually leadership, I think, is acquired in every respect. Actually, I agree with what the speakers have said. And, you know, I should tell you a bit about myself. I mean, first of all, you know, I was a lawyer, but I wasn't good enough, so they put me in politics. Secondly, I did study science, but I actually, the last science exam I sat when I was 15, and the report from my teacher said that the paper which he described as the worst he'd seen in his 30 years of teaching showed little application and absolutely no natural ability. But actually, even when I went into to public life, and the very first proper public speech I made, and people sometimes say I can kind of make a speech nowadays, but this was the first time I had to make a speech, and I was in my 20s, and I was fighting a by-election in the UK in a very strong conservative constituency, and I was a Labour politician, but that really wasn't my main problem. I mean, my main problem was me. I actually did my very first speech, and there was a room which was about double this size, and there were lots and lots of chairs there set out for the great crowd that was going to come and hear my first speech. 6 people turned up. That wasn't so bad. What was bad was that as I was speaking and I was kind of reading the thing out and not really doing it, I noticed out of the corner of my eye one of the women fallen asleep. And afterwards I overheard my agent for the constituency saying to one of the organisers, I don't think we should let him out in public again. That's really not a good idea. So, you know, you actually, even some of the skills to do with speaking, and when people talk about charisma, often that's actually to do with confidence. And I would say that there are four things that I learned about leadership. The first is that nothing comes without hard work. Anybody who ever tells you they're really successful and they haven't worked hard is not telling you the truth. And I've met everyone from, you know, now one of the advantages when you Prime Minister, you know, you meet all these famous people and, you know, it's nice to meet them and they're successful people, but they always share one thing in common: they have all worked really, really hard. The second thing is that I think one really important aspect of leadership, and some of you were mentioning it, but let me put it in a slightly different way, is you've got to think about the world. But I mean really think about it. Because the other thing you can do is you can work really hard, but never really switch your mind on in the sense of opening it up to new ideas, to new thoughts, to new ways of looking at things. And what you notice about anyone who's leading, and leaders aren't, as you were rightly saying, it's all the way down to people can lead a community group, or people can lead a country, but it's the same quality, or people can lead a football team. It's the same quality. They sit down and they think, they really think. You know, so the hard work is necessary, but it's insufficient. You also need to think about the world you're in and open your mind to trying to think creatively as well. You know, leadership is a creative thing. You know, great leaders think creatively about the issues they're trying to deal with. They don't just take the conventional wisdom. I think the third thing is obviously courage, and actually I believe that is an acquired skill as well. I think the toughest thing, and certainly the hardest thing I ever had to do, was when everyone, you know, conventional wisdom goes one way and people are, you know, one of the things you learn is that people who shout the loudest don't necessarily have the best opinions, but they can be the hardest people to be in front of because you feel often, you know, set back a bit and worried, and when people come at you in a very hard way. And Mohammed was mentioning Abraham Lincoln, and he, of course, is an absolute classic study in this because we all regard him, of course, as this magnificent figure today, but in his actual time, he was a figure often of division. He was an object of hatred amongst many people. And, of course, in the end, he was assassinated. And so I think courage is the preparation to actually stand out against the crowd rather than simply go along with it. And the final thing I'd say about leadership that I learned is to be actually always to want to learn more. I think even when you're at my age, I like at the end of every day to think, have I actually learned something today? And I think to have the humility to keep your own mind open and your own opinions available to be shaped and changed sometimes. Because leadership isn't dogmatism, and it's not just always thinking you're right. It's also being prepared to listen as well as lead. And that combination, I think, is the best combination in leadership. And I thought, you know, the degree to which all four of you had really thought about this was remarkable. And I hope very much that, you know, as you go on in life, you keep that rather lovely idealism that obviously motivates you all with you, because that's the other thing. The trouble with getting older is you can get more cynical about life. And cynicism is the opposite of the qualities necessary for leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, due to your busy schedule, we don't have time to hear a question from the audience.
Oh.
Am I right? Oh.
Have I got 5 minutes?
Okay, one question.
Yes, one question. Okay.
If you ask, I tell you what, if you do 3 questions quickly, then I will answer them quickly.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. So, 3 questions quickly. Thank you very much. Yotam.
Good evening. My name is Yotam and I'm from Benyamina. Most of us share the pessimistic notion that in relative postmodern world, it's hard and even impossible to talk about values. I wonder, what do you think? Is it possible to learn leadership without discussing or to agree about moral infrastructure?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Neta from Kfar Ayarok. Lately, we have been witnessing a unique and somewhat new phenomenon. The leaders who lead the world today are much younger than those who led it 20, 30 years ago. For example, you were elected for Prime Minister when you was only in your 40s. Or Obama is 48 years old. Can you suggest some reason for this phenomenon? And do you think age is an factor that affects leadership?
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Asma and I'm from Baka. I would like to ask you a question concerning the future. We are part of a global world characterized with many gaps and differences between nations, cultures, religions, etc. And yet, since we are threatened by the same risk as the global warming unit due to the internet and revolution and connection that managed to erase time and space. In my opinion, this is a very exciting era to live in, since we are facing, as a global society, a lot of challenges. I would like to ask you to characterize the future leader. Do you think that he'll be needing any features than those we have known until now?
Yeah, good. Right. Well, very briefly, first of all, in respect of values, yes, I think moral infrastructure of values is absolutely essential to leadership. I don't think leadership can be done any different way. And values are not necessarily the same as ideology. One thing I think about today's world is that the characterization between left and right is a lot more indistinct, a lot more blurred than it was a few years ago, but I think ideals remain absolutely vital, and ideals are based on values, and values to do with compassion and social justice and solidarity are still values, I think, essential for leadership. Age. You're looking at an example of the aging process. In fact, one of the things that just before I left being Prime Minister, I went and visited actually it was a Hindu temple in London that I visited just before 1997, so 10 years before that, before I became Prime Minister. It was one of these things where they showed the pictures of me in 1997 and me in 2007. The audience started laughing because it was such a visible expression of the aging process before them. So the job ages you pretty quickly. I think it's an interesting question, actually. I think that there is a bit of a change, yes, because I think people feel the world changing so fast that they feel maybe a younger generation of leaders, better be careful, I'm about to meet President Peres, but a younger generation, but I think he's conquered the aging process by some means that we've not yet divined. But I think what I would say to you is that I think the desire for very much, in-touch politicians that people can relate to means that I think there's probably a greater propulsion towards younger leaders. This may not be right, incidentally, but I think it is a feature, a cultural feature of the societies we're in. But sometimes you can, I always thought at the end of my time, if I'd known at the end of my time, if I'd known at the beginning of my time what I knew at the end of my time, it would have been a lot better and easier. But I think, yes, I think there is a certain push towards younger leaders. The final question, which is about the qualities in a global society. I mean, you're absolutely right that the challenges today are global. So if you look at the economic crisis, the security issues in the world today, climate change, they're all global issues. However, one thing I do think is that the basic attributes of leadership don't actually change. I mean, the world in which leadership is exercised changes constantly, but the principles and values behind leadership are timeless. And, the interesting thing about it is that it's a quality that is even more necessary in a world that is so interconnected and so complex. Because one thing that happens with today's world, and political leaders find this particularly difficult, is that they operate in this global context. And yet, all politicians are elected, if they're operating in a democracy, at a very local level. And people always expect them to be able to cure the problems locally, when sometimes the solutions actually are global. And I think, too, people have very high expectations of what a political leader can achieve today in a world where increasingly the only way of achieving things is global cooperation. Now, I think there's not an additional value or principle or quality that is necessary for leadership today, but I do think there is one attitude that is very important in a leader today, and I think it's actually exemplified by my four colleagues on this platform. And that is, I think you need a very open attitude to the world today. You know, what do I mean by that? I mean, societies that are characterized by hostility towards immigration or protectionism as an economic response, or in religious terms, they see their religion as differentiating themselves and disrespecting another. I think those very closed attitudes are a real problem in the world today. And I would say it's very hard for people to exercise leadership unless they have an attitude to what is happening in the world today that is open, that sees ourselves not just as citizens of one country or adherents of one faith, our own faith, but sees ourselves also as, in some sense, global citizens, prepared to operate and give mutual respect to those who are different. And I think that quality of being prepared to open yourself to the other is a quality that is maybe has always been necessary, but I think in the 21st century is more necessary than ever before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tony Blair and Professor Galil, thank you for honoring us with your presence. We have a few more minutes, so please sit down for a few more minutes. Before we begin our final ceremony, I would like to say a few words of thanks before we move to the graduate ceremony. I would like to say a few things, and before to emphasize how special was this event, since it brought together 100 young students who came from different schools, cities or villages, different backgrounds and religions. In spite of the differences between them, there is one powerful element that is common to all of them. These wise and bright students were blessed with the virtues such as awareness, responsibility, and compassion. They all care about our future, and therefore they are eager to lead towards a better society. I would like to thank all of you, dear students, for who you are. You are the reason for our hope. Thank you very much. And a few words of thanks. This event couldn't take place without special people who truly understand the meaning and the significance of leadership. First is Mr. Tony Blair and Professor Tzvi Galil. Ms. Madar Fisher, the head of Dan David Award. Mrs. Gabi David. Mrs. Dalia Rabin, the chair of Yitzhak Rabin Center. Ms. Roni Altman, the coordinator of the Interdisciplinary Leadership Program on the behalf of the Yitzhak Rabin Center. Jawad Abul Hija and Dafna Cohen, the group's facilitators. The Honorable Mr. Dov Lautman. Professor Dina Tirosh and Professor Yuval Dror from the School of Education, Tel Aviv University. Professor Hanoch Dagan, the Dean of the Law Faculty. Professor Rafi Nachmias. I would like to thank to Dr. Kobi Naveh, to Aliza Psor, to Tzachi Ben Moshe and Hadar Peri from Hakfar Hayarok. I would like to thank Ms. Mira Ruskis, the principal of Ort Binyamina, and Mrs. Nili Ben Ishai, the leadership group coordinator from Ort Binyamina. I would like to thank to all the members and colleagues at the Unit for Science-Oriented Youth, Mrs. Shira Shofti, the head of the unit, Mrs. Dorit Sassman, who is in charge of the Excellence Program, and Dr. Liv Segal. I would like to thank to the students' parents and families, the school's principals, and all of the people who motivate them to excellence and leadership. Thank you all. And last thing, dear students, again, I would like to thank you. Although the real fruits of your success will be felt and measured in the future, today's event was a live proof for the fact you have already accomplished so much. And now I would like to invite Ms. Roni Altman from the Yitzhak Rabin Center in order to conduct the graduation ceremony. Everyone is, of course, welcome to stay. However, we understand that members of the Tel Aviv University Board of Governors and other distinguished guests may have other obligations. Okay, so we'll begin.
כל התלמידים שלנו יכולים לרדת למטה ולתפוס מקום בשורות התחתונות שהתפנו.
חברי קבוצת המנהיגות הבינתחומית, אתם מוזמנים לתפוס מקומות בשורות הראשונות. מועד, אנחנו רוצים להתחיל.
זה נראה לך נורא נורא? עדיף שנשאר?
אני טסה היום.
זה בסדר? בטוח?
תודה רבה. תודה. תודה רבה שבאת. חברים, אנחנו רוצים להתחיל ואני רוצה לקרוא לסטודנטית הראשונה שתקבל את התעודה. אני מזמינה כל אחד ואחת מהתלמידים, הסטודנטים, שאת שמם אני אקרא, להגיע לכאן, לקבל מרוני תעודה ושי. לקבל מרוני תעודה ולקבל ממר דוב לאוטמן שיושב כאן, שי. אני אתחיל והראשונה היא אתר ויוסי. הסטודנט השני הוא מר מוחמד אגבריה. הוא התרגל לבמה. הסטודנטית השלישית רנה טהה. גם התרגלת לבמה, זה נחמד. הסטודנטית הרביעית גיידה קננבה. אני קוראת לדיה קייסי. ותעלה ותבוא גם הלה עבדלהדי. והסטודנטית הנהדרת הבאה, אסמה סלאמה. והבאה אחרי אסמה, מאי זבן. אימן וואטד. אמני הסיץ. איה סיקסיק. אסמה מג'דלה. רוואן שטיוי. וסוף סוף סטודנט אוסמה שלבי. ראיתי אותו? רוואן, קייסי, בואי. אסמה פיום. עותמן עתמנה. חולוד, עודה. ורדה עבדאללה. אמל סעדי. סג'ה עומר. آية يونس. مروة زيدان. أسامة زيدان. روان دراوشة. كاميليا دراوشة. رحمات أبو موخ. ماجد دراوشة. مواد بدوسي. أحمد أسد. ואחרון אחרון חביב, מר אדהם אגבריה. אני רוצה שוב להודות לגברת עורכת הדין רוני אלטמן, ושוב להודות לכולכם, למסיימי התוכנית האינטרדיסציפלינרית, לתלמידי הכפר הירוק שנמצאים כאן ומחאו כפיים. אתם נהדרים, אז הקולגות ותלמידי בנימינה המקסימים, כולכם חברי תוכניות המנהיגות, תודה רבה רבה לכם. ערב טוב. חברי תוכנית המנהיגות הבינתחומית, נא להתאסף ליד דובי קלאוטמן לתמונת סיום. לכל השאר תודה רבה שהגעתם. ערב טוב.